Listen to the rhythm of the crackle. Each spark is a moment of peace. I'm Disrula. This story of the ancient Roman road travel, boring journey from Rome to Britain, relaxing. History for sleep was written to be read by the light of a fading fire. As the embers glow, feel your body sink deeper into rest. You are safe. You are warm. You are ready to dream. The fire breathes low, crackling whisper, slow sound. Dry pine snaps a sudden sharp report, a rhythmic sound against the vast night. Air is thick with smoke of scent of soot and damp earth, sweetness of burning resin, and amber glow a deep orange light dances on the bark of the nearest olive tree. Is a slow breath, fire breathes a slow breath, look deeply into the flame. Traveler, feel the hypnotic rhythm of the wood. Consume, this is the only steady rhythm you would have known in the road. Remember the triumphs of Rameth, legions, the speed, the thunder of hoofs we. Remember the conquest, but tell me this forgotten secret, what was the true secret terror of the ancient Roman road? It was not the bandit lurking in the forest edge. It was not the fever carried on the marsh wind. It was the crushing, unending weight obsolescent. The absolute certainty that tomorrow will be exactly the same as today, mile after mill traveler to Historia Lube am Anasario. Tonight we quiet the great shouting historian. Settle instead into the slow truth, restful history of the ordinary journey. We speak of the greatest road network the world had ever seen, the famous Via, the arteries of empire. But we will not speak of glory. We speak of the long, slow drag, the months required to move from the golden hills of Rome all the way north to the cold, gray, wet edge of Britannia. Is not a story of battle. This is a journey into the deep well of human endurance, the quiet monotony of travel. Back now, all the sound of the crackling Furetto. Settle you. We start today at the Porta Capinale, beginning of the famed Appian Way. Are not a legate, you are not a messenger of Caesar, you are a humble merchanter. Perhaps a government clerk assigned to a post so far away feels like another world. Your journey begins with a certain ferment of violence, but of logistics, the curses. Publicus, the public way was organized, but it was not fast, yeah. Would ride maybe 20 Roman miles. A date 20 miles. If the weather was good, if the oxen were strong, if the driver was sober. Road itself was magnificent layered stone and perfectly drained. Monumental effort. But pavement does not equal speed. It only ensures that the ground beneath your feet will be unchanging, hardened, unchanging every hour, brought the same vista. High hedge, the low stone wall, the sound of your cart wheels grinding the same sound, grinding the same rhythm against the hard stone surface. The Roman road traveler soon learned a profound lesson. Patience. It was not a virtue, it was survival. You stopped at Mancinese, the official road station, every few hours at Tabernet. The humble, in soft and loud, often dirty, always smelling of old wine and stale smoke. Imagine the smell, traveler. Scent of dried sweat and unwashed wool mixed with the sharp tang of garlic and burnt olive oil. The scent of the common room, scent of tired. Men, you would share your bread, your sour wine with soldiers and drovers and other clerks, and everyone was moving slowly. Everyone was enduring. Great journey was an exercise in small distances. A mile marker appears a moment of relief, and the next marker seems to take an eternity to arrive, an eternity of slow steps, an eternity of the same sound mile after mile. The sun set, road stretched ahead away straight, always demanding. We begin our journey tomorrow morning with the taste of gritty bread in our mouths and the promise of 300 more miles of salmonis before we even reach the Alps, 1,000 more miles after that too. Not rush. There's no rush on the Roman road rest. Now the fire is low, the journey is long, and the history is waiting. The wood is wet tonight. They protest softly, listening closely to the slow crackle of the pine. The fire breathes its steady amber glow into the mud-packed ground beside us. We smell the damp earth, now the scent of burning pitch and old heavy sweat hangs low beneath the smoke. We are static at a rest stop. We are static beside the vast, relentless straightness of the Via Appia. Rome built its roads for brutal speed and endless conquest. We know this truth, but there is a secret to history as always. Forget a deep forgotten secret about this journey to Britain. The great Roman journeys were never glorious charges. They were agonizing slow march of deep bureaucratic tedium, and the real moral cost of that speed was never paid by the emperor. It was paid by the hands that laid the stone. How many souls were ground down by the rock? How many bodies were broken simply so that a bored legionary could reach? Londinium, a day sooner think of that hidden toll, that silent human cost. That is the story. That the straight road will not tell youth. Air is thicket, is not the clean mountain air of the poets. It is the heavy scent of 10,000 weary feet passing it. Is the smell of ambition failing? The air carries the stale vinegar tone of sour. Wine it carries the thick smell of unwashed wool. Kluxit carries the acidic urine of the overburdened oxen and the mules. Road smells of power and relentless decay. They call this progress. They call this great civilization. But tonight, beside this dying fire, we smell the truth. We smell the sour fear of the slave driving the cart. The heavy sourness clings to the dark Kluxit. Clings to the oil leather sandals. The smell of the endless road stays with you long after you've moved on it is. The invisible perfume of empire, the fire shrinks. Now it draws inward, trying desperately to protect its precious warmth. The cold comes patiently from the north. The cold is utterly relentless, is the cold that reminds you that even under Roman rule nature insists upon its vast indifference. We hear the slight metallic shuffling of the guards further down the line. The dull clank of their worn armor, the sound of their heavy, shallow breath, and the sharp, cold air. These men are not heroes tonight. They are tired men following orders. Their loyalty is a thin shield against the biting chill. The cold settles deep into the soft tissues, settles into the hard bone, it settles into the protesting joints. Imagine the legions marching endlessly north, into the deep misty lands of Germania, across the dusty plains of Gaul. Road was built to be straight and efficient, but the path was always torture. Every single stone laid was in a silent, pervasive violence, against the unwilling earth violence, against the broken prisoners of war forced to quarry and break the endless bedrock. The cost of the stone was human effort. Cost of the road was human life. This journey to the distant shores of Britain is boring. Yes, hour after hour of identical gray paving stones. The monotony itself is a deep moral gray. It grinds down the spirit until only duty remains. Boredom is a constant companion, and when boredom is your only companion, small, easy acts of cruelty become entertainment. The bored soldier kicks the barking dog. The bored official demands unnecessary extra tribute. The hurried traveler ignores the dying forgotten man in the ditch because the road demands movement. The road demands efficiency above all else, and efficiency truly has no mercy. Tell ourselves we need these straight roads, we need this speed, this terrifying connection, but what does that speed truly cost us in our own humanity? What does it drain away from the soul? The cold keeps patiently asking the question. The fire offers absolutely no warm answer. It just crackles softly, waiting for the dawn, waiting for the next exhausting mile. The fire whispers now a low, contented sound. The journey ends, but the road does not. The road never ends. It waits for us. It waits. We leave the weary traveler by the coast of Britannia. The sea air cold and thick and strangely unfamiliar. He has endured months of the slow trudge, the rhythmic beat of the cartwheels, the relentless silence broken only by the squeak of leather, the low grunt of the oxen. We ask why the greatest builders made the most profoundly dull journeys. The answer lies perhaps in the legacy of the stone itself. Down feel the texture of what remains centuries later. The stone still grips the earth. The stone still endures. It is the permanence that defines the boredom, the permanence that defines the power. The Romans understood that routine breeds immortality. Road was not a path to glory. It was a mechanism of control. Slow, constant, unyielding pressure applied. Mile after heavy mile. And what does such profound monotony leave behind in the human soul? A mystery vast and deep as the empire itself. Imagine great thoughts, great schemes being hatched beneath the Roman sun, but perhaps it was only counting. The paces, counting the breath, counting the coins for the next miserable lodging. The silence of the long road forces the mind inward. It strips away the trivial noise of Rome, the bustle of the forum, the shouting of the Senate leaving. Only the man, the dust, and the terrifying simplicity of existence. This was the true Roman discipline, not just how to fight, but how to wait, how to endure the waiting, the endless patient waiting. We see the legacy not just in the paving stones still visible beneath the European dirt. We see it in the ghost of the routine, The shadow of the slow march. The road was built to last 1,000 years, and it nearly has it outlasted the emperors who commanded its construction. It outlasted the legions who paced its endless length. It outlasted the very memory of the men whose feet wore down the stone. The mystery remains the quiet philosophical secret of the road. Did the constant slow movement become a form of prayer, a form of deep unintended meditation? Did the traveler find peace in the utter certainty of the next mile, knowing that the path was set, knowing that choice was removed, knowing that only forward motion existed? A strange kind of freedom in absolute necessity, a freedom in the slowness. The sheer magnitude of the Roman project demands that we look beyond the marble temples and the gilded statues, must look to the dirt and the grit to the common soldier. The merchant, the bureaucrat, traveling, their journey, their suffering, their profound boredom is the true foundation of the West, is the unseen engine that drove the empire forward. This endless road, this incredible network connected the world but isolated the traveler, a man alone in the crowd of his own disciplined thoughts, a profound isolation. The road begins in Rome, and it ends nowhere but in the sea. What did they do when the sun finally set, when the journey was briefly halted? They searched for refuge. They searched for warmth. They searched for a place to forget the road. The silence of the road gives way to the noise of the tavern. The flickering light of the inn, the place where the traveler sought respite and where the danger often multiplied. We have seen the burden of the journey, the slow, heavy weight of the miles. But what awaited them at the end of the day? What secrets, what dangers, what whispers lurked within the walls of the Roman resting house? The mansionese, the places of temporary safety. Join us next time as we extinguish the fire and step through the rough wooden door into the dangerous comforts, the dark intrigues of the Roman roadhouse. The fire fades now. The amber glow withdrew it, pulled back into the gray ash, leaving only the ghost of heat upon your skin. The scent of burning pine still heavy on the damp air. You remember the secrets shared in the low light, crackling wood, the promise of warmth that is gone. And no, there is only the road waiting to begins here on the damp chill of a morning before the sun. The Roman Empire demanded movement, it demanded speed, it demanded certainty. We spoke of the legions and the glory, but the truth, the sleepy truth, the secret we forgot is that Roman travel was mostly just waiting and dusting, the relentless thud of stone. The road from Rome to Britain is not a sprint, it is a marathon of magnificent monotony. Are moving north now away from the bustling forum, the noise, the constant chatter of the imperial city. We seek the edge, the distant misty province. We seek Britannia. The journey is the price. The efficiency that built the empire is the efficiency that bores you to distraction. They called it the Via Appia, and it was always straight. For mile upon weary Malia, testament to engineering, not to joy. Engineers abhorred a curvity cut through hills. They bridged deep trolleys just to ensure the straight line held. The straight line, the predictable line, the line that puts to mind. To rest the stone beneath your cart is heavy. Basalt metically laid by hands long turned to earth. Listen closely to the sound. Steady thump, the rhythmic grind, wheels turning on the stone, the relentless stone. They measured their world not by wonder, but by the mile markers. Miliarium, every 1,000 paces, a cylinder of granity announcing how far you have coming. More importantly, how far you still must go. You are not a general on a swift horse, you are a bureaucrat, or a salt merchant, or perhaps a messenger carrying the tedious orders of the cursus publicus. Imperial Postal Service, you ride a radar. Heavy four-wheeled wagon, built for payload, not for comfort. It has no springs. Axle groans with every uneven slab. Of stone jolting, always jolting, bones vibrating, the teeth clenching. The speed is abysmal. 3 miles an hour if the weather holds and the mules are strong. Imagine the world moving past at a walking pace. Same trees, the same gusty. Fields, the same low walls hour after hour. The sun climbs slowly burning. Off the mist revealing the next, which looks exactly like the last. The dust it rises in silent clouds behind the wheels, find pulverized earth and crushed stone it coats. Your cloak, your hair, your weary eyelashes, it settles on the skin, gritty second layer, the smell of dry earth dust. In the mouth, dust. In the eyes, dust. The greatest comfort is the system itself, the predictability of the mansioness. Inn's place Pressa Cellulary 15 to 20 miles. You You know where you will stop tonight? You know what lukewarm wine you will drink? You know that the stable boys will look tired, you know the smell of stale straw and cooking mutton. The lack of surprise is the hypnotic rhythm, the knowledge that the great road simply continues straight reg traits the North Star Strait towards the great grey river of the sea strait towards Britain. But Britain is not today. Today is just the dust turning wheel. Stone F stone. The road that never ends, the embers sigh, slow, slow sigh. The amber glow pulls us closer, always closer. It keeps the vast, endless darkness back, the deep darkness beyond the shelter. The pine wood crackles low and slow and steady. This is the only perfect warmth now. The long Roman road outside waits silent and cold. So very cold, a penetrating cold, a cold that carries the smell of distance. Scent of burning pine is sweet a fleeting comfort. It tries to mask the deeper odors of reality. Stale heavy air of the wooden mancio inn, the wet wool drying by the hearth, the heavy travel cloak, and beneath it all the dried sweat, the deep human sweat, the metallic tang of the road dust that never leaves you, dust that is ground rock, ground duty. Ground sacrifice, dust that settles deep into the pores of the skin dust that becomes of the journey itself. We sit worn, but we are never truly cleaned this. Road demands a cost, a cleansing that never comes. The cold outside breathes a heavy sigh deep. Wind sigh it. Reminds us of the endless length of this undertaking Rome to Britain. A boring journey, they say, but how deep is the cost of that predictable pace, that smooth straight line, that perfect Roman efficiency? These stones beneath us are perfection, our absolute duty, they whisper. The engineers, the planners, the legions, the men whose names we still remember centuries later, but they also whisper, they scream of the others too, the forced hands, the broken backs, the forgotten lives, the chained men, who sweated, who bled, who died, to lay this path, this magnificent, perfect path, to make this journey merely boring for you. Boring journey, a simple journey for the citizen. A brutal, terrible cost for the builder, for the enslaved, the smooth rhythm. The carriage wheels, that steady pace that lulls the rich traveler to sleep, it rides on the deep, unforgiving suffering that came before. Always. The suffering, always the cost, always the sacrifice. Do you hear the whispers of the road in this, the ghost sounds of the hammers and the chains, the sound of rock shattering and bones? Breaking the road absorbs it, all the stone, remembers nothing. It only offers the predictable surface, the unyielding surface that is the moral gray of the Roman world. Convenience is built on someone else's dread. Our speed is measured in someone else's forced labor. Listen closely to the soft sound of the fire. Listen to the silence that is not truly silent. It is heavy with history, heavy with human cost, heavy with duty and heavy with dread. The fire shrinks slowly, slowly, consuming the last of the pitch. The shadows grow bolder at the edges of the light. The world beyond the firelight is sharp and unforgiving. We pull the heavy cloak tighter, the thick Roman wool. It smells of smoke and age and distance. The cold is not merely temperature. Now it is a weight, a crushing weight of the distance travel day. Cold that sinks deep, deep into the bone. Marrow cold that reminds you how far you are from home. How very far, how absolutely alone you can hear the tired horses stirring in the stable nearby. Soft, nervous, wicker sound of deep, profound discomfort. They too bear the burden of this endless straight road, the constant motion, the constant expectation. They too yearn for the warmth, the stop, the genuine rest, but the cursus publicus, the duty demands, speed demands duty. Journey continues, always it continues. The glow lowers now, the amber becomes deep, deep red, like the clay earth bat swallowed thee. Workers red like the exhaustion in your own heavy eyes. The long, long journey, the very long journey. Road waits the cold, waits the dust, waits for us. We rest, now we rest by the soft, soft sound of the pine. Let the fire protect us from the cold, sharp whispers, the whispers of the road, the echoes of the cost. Sleep now, sleep deeply now by the fire. Boring road waits patiently until dawn. It waits. The mile markers fell away like the days, themselves fading into the dust as he spoke. Of the road, the endless road, way the stone refused to yield. Way the Roman mind carved permanence from the shifting landscape of time, or leaving the inns now. Scent of stale wine and wood smokies, weary sighs of the post riders, that whole world of fleeting discomfort it recedes. Now it sinks back into the earth where it truly belongs, but the legacy remains, road remains. The massive weight of the empire pressed into the soil of Europe, pressed into the damp fields leading toward Britannia. Think of the sheer audacity, vision that spanned centuries. They built not for a generation, but for geologic time. We talk about the Boredown, long flat stretches of silent travel, but the true mystery of the Roman road is not the travel itself. It is the haunting memory it carries. It is the ghost echoes of the legionary boots, rhythmic stamp that settled the very dust. It is the granite memory sleep of the centuries held fast in the cold grip of the mortar. We walk these same lines. Today we follow the same unbending paths, the roads that refuse to turn. They are the veins of a vanished civilization, still pumping, still functioning. They are the lines on the palm of the continentaling of fortune that already came true. We cannot truly know the minds of those who walk these silent miles, those silent miles. The official histories tell us of policy, of conquest, and of taxation, but the road holds the secrets of the small hour. The whispered discontent, a homesickness that burned hotter than any camphor, the little grudges, the small acts of kindness that vanished the moment they occurred, the names carved carelessly into tavern walls, eroded by rain, by time, by the passage of other weary hands. The true history of the Roman road is written in invisible ink. It is written in the silence between the stones. The stones themselves are the historians, mute and indifferent. They remember the jingle of the harness, sharp cry of the hawk above the tall pass, the constant low murmur of Pharos. The journey stretched into the unknown. The road endures it, is a monument not just to power, but to persistence, the simple human capacity to keep moving forward even when the destination is hidden by the misteven, when the journey feels endless. The greatest mystery of these ancient wastes, how they bind us to them, how we feel the weight of those millions of steps beneath our own feet, a connection stronger than steel, older than the stones themselves. We have come far now across Gaul, across the channel of churning grey water. Stand at the edge of the known world. We stand at the very northern limit where the ambition of Rome began to falter. The deep forest breathes heavily around us. The air changes here. The soft comforts of the central empire are falling away like old maps. We are here in Britannia, the edge of the wild, and it is here where the great road finally loses its unbending focus. That the darkest secrets await. The whispers are louder here. The frontier is a place of blood and shadow off cold rain and unforgiving marsh. We must look closely now at the last roads, built forgotten for its gold to vanish without a trace. The journey is ending, but the deeper dream is just beginning. Next time, we'll search for the lost legion, men who marched northern, simply disappeared into the sleep of the ancient world. The amber memory lingers still, crackle, the hiss of pine resin burning. Slow, a hypnotic glow in the black Roman night. The fire warmed the bones that the road chilled. It cast shadows that danced upon our weary shoulders, a scent of smoke. A bitter comfort left it behind this morning light. Now the dust returns, the ochre breath of Italy rising slowly, a fine powder coating the legionary sandals, coating the ox hide. The wooden access road stretches endlessly before you as a straight line of intention laid down by emperors who never walked this mile and never felt this drag. This is not the triumphant march you imagine. I know legions singing war songs in the Sanctus is the silent pacing of logistics, slow grinding weight of supply, weight of the empire, the weight of the journey, we move at the rhythm of the ox for miles per hour on a good stretch, maybe 18 miles before the sun begins its deep descent. 18 miles that feel like 100 does. Every step is the same as the last step, and every mile marker stone looks exactly like the one we passed before. Road is beautiful in its engineering, straight and true and relentless, but beauty does not erase the monotonous, profound, aching boredom of travel. You learn to watch the clouds see, you learn to count the shadows, you learn the subtle tilt of the earth under the stones. Yesterday, we spoke of the official resting place, status ancient ease of the Mansiath, predictable walled compound, where the imperial post-runners change horse head. The government officials find clean straw and wine paid for by the stadia-regulated world. But the Mantio is not always there. It is full or it is too far aligned when the sun begins to bleed across the horizona. Dangerous decision must be made. Must choose between the known risk and this unknown between the safety of the state and embraceth the private enterprise, the wayside, and the local tavern, what the Romans called the copona. The copona word that smells of cheap beer and stale sweat, a place where the road rules. Systema terra magnet for the loose and the desperate thieves, the sharpers, the runaway slaves. True flavor of the wild Roman world that happens between the straight lines, the roadside taverns. Promise, warmthly promise, cheap wine poured thick with water. They promise entertainment of the lowest order, but they never promise safe tie. Bed bugs, the hidden daggers, the sudden argument that flares up like dry tinder and leaves a man poorer or colder by morning. The traveler must always sleep with one eye open on hand near the sword hilt house. The night brings not just rest but predators and the boring road hides. The most dangerous truth that once the state infrastructure fades human nature takes over, we see smoke now ahead of you, it's not the comforting smoke of our own. Morning fire, but the dark promise of another settlemented might be a sight. A safe haven, a legitimate stopping point, or it might be the coppin waiting to cast our luck waiting. To challenge the careful plants off an empire built on straight line show. Do you prepare yourself for Ristwen? The very of resting is a gambler approach slow lie. Approach, we approach, let the stones tell us their secrets, let the fire remember. Our names, the low fire sighs a hiss of sap escaping slow. The embers pulse deep ember a lullaby of heat and shadow. We sit still by the dying flame. We spoke of the roads, the great stone bones off the Roman world, how they stretched they conquered the distance. But listen closely now to what the stone remembers just beyond the light, just beyond the firelight. The journey was not always a quiet passage to sleep it. Was a human transaction, a relentless exchange. Think of the cold, not the biting wind of the mountaintops, but the cold that sleeps deep in the stone itself. The cold that seeps into the thickest wool. Cold that gnaws at the knees and the joints, the cold that clings to the dawn fog. Roman road offered speed, but speed demands sacrifice. Who was compelled to move at that speed? Who paid the price for the swift message at a quick arrival of the legion? It was the human cost. A weary tramp of the foot, soldier, the endless plodding of the baggage mule, the slave hauling the burden, slave hauling. The burden moving, imagine. The smells. True smell of the Roman road, not the scent of victory or marble bolt. The smell of damp leather worn thin off rancid oil used to grease the axe off sweat dried and sweat renewed a sharp ammonia tang. Rising from the muddy track where hundreds of animals had passed, the air was heavy with the breath of labor, with the lowing of cattle, with the close proximity of strangers shuttled together for a fleeting moment of warmth before the cold stone demanded movement. The great inns, the mansionesty offered shelter, yes, but they were centers of noise and chaos. The sounds were brutal, the clatter of cheap metal protests, be harsh. Drunken laughter of merchants, crying of infants bundled against the chill. The constant low drone of exhaustion. There was no peace in the travel and leave, the dull, hypnotic rhythm of the feet, stone, beneath the worn sandal. Relentless weight upon the shoulders. For the elite, the journey was boring, a necessary nuisance. Between villas, but for the legionary, for the courier, for the servant, boredom was an achia profound exhaustion that settled deep into the marrow. They dreamt not of home, but of simply stopping off, not having to lace the leather boots off, not having to feel the damp cold rise up from the magnificent pavement. The stone was perfect engineering, sublime. That perfection was purchased at be the thousands of miles. Walk be feet that swelled and bled be backs that bent early be lives defined by the burden be the burden of the road. We love the image of the Roman emperor, the polished marble, the golden triumph. But the road was greya, moral grayness built into the perfect geometry. Now of the cold mud sloshing over the ankles, think of the sour taste of stale water from the leather flask. Think of the silent promise, mad to be every traveler, just to see the sun set and then rise to face the endless miles. The fire fades to a whisper, now the heat is just a memory on your face. Listen. To the quiet, this quiet was earned by pain be the unrelenting movement of the many so that the few could arrive in time. The road remembers, the stone knows the burden. The Stone knows the burden slow. Slow. I close our eyes now. The fire has died down. Two embers, a breath of smoke drifts past your ear. Listen closely to the silence. The silence of the Via Appia. Silence of the Fossway. The journey is over for now. Tired soldier, the bored merchant, the anxious governor, they have all departed. They have walked into history, and the great grey lines of stone they left behind. Simply wait, they simply sleep a monumental sleep. Legacy of boredom, a legacy of control. The stone remembers. Stone remembers the thud of the hobnail boot. The stone remembers. The slow, deliberate wheel. The stone remembers the same view day after day after day. Long straight line was never about beauty. It was about permanence. It was about saying, we were here and we will always be here even when the emperor's name is forgotten. The road remains. The road remains a ghost map on the face of Europe. Look, any modern map now, see. The slight deviation, the subtle curve, then suddenly a straight, relentless vector. That vector is Rome speaking. That vector is the ghost of the legionary engineer whose job was not to be inspired, but to be efficient to. Be efficient, to be absolutely, utterly predictable. And this predictability, this straightness, this legacy is the mystery itself. We can walk the stones, we can measure the width, we can analyze the layers of volcanic dust and gravel, but we cannot touch the true lost secret. The secret of the shared breath. The secret of the silent internal monologue of the traveler walking 40 miles a day. 40 miles a day. Through cold rain, through heat haze, through fields of unknown crops. What did they whisper to the dust? What did they dream about in the crude Mancio and know what they carried, but we do not know what they thought. We know the official itinerary, but we do not know the emotional toll. The roads are empty now, but they are never truly empty. They carry the echoes, they carry the weight of 3 centuries of tired steps leading from Rome toward the mist of Britain toward the furthest edge of known civilization. Journey so long, so incredibly long, a journey requiring such profound endurance. Deep resignation. The roads sleep, but they are not dead. They have simply changed their disguise. Today your car drives. On Romang ambition, your train runs parallel to Romang certainty. The road demands to be used. The road demands to be traveled. The road endures. Deepest mystery, then, is not how they built them, but why we still feel compelled to follow the lines they drew, why the ancient stone calls out so quietly, so persistently, why the path of ancient boredom still holds us captive, still holds us captive in its inescapable straightness. It is a hypnotic line drawn across the chaos of time, but a straight line in the wilderness is also vulnerability. It is a loud proclamation to anyone watching, I am coming. And this perfect path, this boast of control, this perfect path was also a beacon for trouble for those who waited. In the shadows, for those who did not want the traveler to reach his goal. Next time we will look beneath the carriage wheels. We will examine the cost of that straightness, the price of predictable travel, the hidden violence that waited patiently at every milestone in the dark forest on the edge of the sleeping road. The fire awaits us. It always awaits us. Memory of the pine wood crackling softly, a whisper of heat on the cold night air close. Your ice and remember the amber glows, slow, steady rhythm of consumption, soft ash, falling, the scent of burning pine. This was the signal, forgotten secret we shared in. One that even the longest journey of the long road to Britain must eventually surrender to sleep, but tonight we do not stop. At the fire tonight, we move past the warmth. We step back onto the great paved surfacey, magnificent indifference of the Via Appia. We are traveling through time and dust from the dizzying spectacle of Rometto, the distant gray fog of Britannia. They built these roads for speed. They built them for legions and letters. They built them for eternity. But the secret of the journey itself is how deeply, how profoundly it was boring. Boredom was the price of empire. Price of efficiency, mile after mile after mile, the same stone, cutting the same landscape, the same endless straightness, dig not for wonder but for relentless forward motion. Think of the sound, the rhythmic clip-clop of the hooves, not exciting not dangerous, continuoso, low steady hum. Effort to cartwheels, scraping drag dust, lifting settling on the traveler's hair, settling on the traveler's cloak. The same gust yesterday, the same gust today. There was no surprise that is the deep truth of Roman travel. The world had been surveyed. Stages were marked, the road was built, the monotony was enforced by the perfection of the engineer in you. Knew where the next stop lay, you knew the name of the Manciath official rest stop here. Knew the distance precisely in measured Roman miles, and because you knew the mind found no place to wander, no corner to turn unexpectedly. The landscape unfolded predictable, flat, reliable. Imagine the day's endless repetition of light and shadow. Sun rising over the same dull field, the sun setting behind the same distant hill, the same conversation, the same dried rations, the same ache in the shoulder from the same movement of the heavy pack Rome to Britain was not a discovery. It was an endurance test, a slow, steady trudge through. All through the river crossings always. Moving north a ways, moving toward the dampan, the unknown edges of the world. But the road demanded reverence. The road demanded respect. It was a monument to itself, stretching, thin gray line of perfect control across an imperfect. Savage world and travelers moved within that control there, thoughts confined by the rhythm of the road, their anxieties muffled by the certainty of the stone beneath their feet. Is this certainty we seek tonight, the rhythmic peace of a world that knew its path, the gentle, hypnotic lull off boring history. Let the sound of the wheels fade. Let the dust settle on your eyelids. Are almost at the next stage. We are almost at the next stop. The journey is long, the journey is slow, but the road keeps turning. The road keeps churning. Sleep now, in the boring road to Britain. Fire breeze. Lo, now a heavy pulsing ember glow that holds the darkness it knows. The journey sit here still near the hearthstone. Only true comfort the empire offered was this momentary shield against the vast indifference of cold. Cold, you see, was not just temperature, it was structural cold. Cold of stone walls meant to last centuries. The cold that sinks past the tunic, past the skin, into the very marrow of the boneless. And closely now beyond the steady crackling of the pine logs, though, you hear the sound of the stable hand sleeping his deep, ragged breathe. Has walked 40 miles today, letting the spare mule trained. Official courier needed speed, but speed. Always has a hidden weight of human cost to cost paid in blistered feet and cracked lips and the pervasive synth. Smell of ancient Roman travel, it clings to the air. Here a thick tapestry of damp wool and spilled winneth. Metallic tang of horse sweat. Sourness of unwashed leather, subtle stink of stale urine in the courtyard dustus is the true perfume of efficient scythe, breath of the curse's publicust. Speed of empire, resting entirely in the profound exhaustion of the forgotten manual. This journey Baringo, lullaby of slow miles and repetition, but for those who maintained it, for the viator, the nameless traveler, monotony itself was the anemeth. Endless straight lines of the road, same gray sky appearing hour after hour day. After day thought not legions, but the moral rot of extreme fatigue with constant yearning for just 5 more minutes sleep, chill that never truly leaves the believing when sitting by this blessed Ferethus. Warmth is temporary, borrowed respite tomorrow. The cold awaits, the wind waits the cold, knows the road cold proceeds to dawn. Think on the moral grayness of it all. High official traveling in his litter, his documents sealed, his mission vital. He sees only the smooth surface of the stone. Road the milestones marking his progress, never smells the sour realities, desperate bribe given by the common soldier just to secure a warmer spot in the barracks never hears. The muffled cough of the child traveler sickened by the relentless exposure. Roman efficiency was beautiful, a geometric wonder of engineering, a masterpiece of logistical deployment, but the beauty was purchased in ways, purchased with the grinding down, slow, steady erosion off. Human spirit fireside now a low whisper. As the wood shifts, it knows the history, it knows the burdenty, always kept moving because Rome told them to move. The weight of the whole world seemed to settle in the shoulders of one shivering groom leading one tired horse down. Endless road from Rome all the way to Britannia, a journey of profound moral exhaustion, a journey we simplify, a journey we call boring, but the cold remembers the cost. Cold remembers the firth. Fire waits for the next traveler to arrive seeking that brief, beautiful shelter from the terrible, magnificent cold. Journey continue as it always continues in the shadow sand, in the smoke listen to the deep, slow hum of the past it. Is the sound of absolute weariness, sound of forgotten sleep, fire. Holds the secret, the journey's price at a price of moving. Price of never stopping, just waiting for the deep sleep, the last stone settle. Last breath of heat leaves the Roman asphalt. Silence descends upon the long weary route from the heart fire of Romero, the cold damp earth of Britannia. The journey ends not with a cheer, but with a slow sigh. Vast accomplishment now stands silent, eh? Ribbon of layered rock holding, the weight of history holding, the ghosts of the mile markers. Closely now let your mind trace the deep ruts, constant scarring left by 10,000 iron wheels. This road was never perfectly smooth. It was always a process of grinding off, wearing down the will of wearing down the stone. The stone remains the stone. Remembers it, remembers the sound of the legions marching steady, relentless thump, thump it. Remembers the cries of the mule traverse, low whispered promises of the travelers. Heading home here, perhaps travelers who knew they would never see. Home, the Roman road remains long after the legions depart, long after the emperors crumble into dust. The road is their most enduring monument. It is their most baffling mystery. We can count the layers of aggregate to, can measure the specific gravity of the volcanic ash, but we cannot measure the sheer human cost, relentless energy that wove this tapestry of travel across the known world. What did the stone absorb as the centuries rolled by? Did the very bedrock soak up the angsty tide of fear of the dark woods, the relief of seeing the next posting station? Firelight. The villas that once lined these magnificent arteries, they have dissolved. Our painted walls are now just colored dirt. Their proud roofs have fallen inward, the great wooden bridges. They have burned and rotted away, but the path itself, fundamental trajectory of stonite, holds fast. It holds the direction of empire. Was built to defy time, and for 1,000 years it did defy time. The road remains when the purpose is gone. The road remains and the mystery deepens. We trace the map lines, see the neat Roman logic, straightness that cut through the ancient chaos, but stand now in the lonely quiet where a centurion once demanded tribute. What do you hear? Only the rustling of the heather, the lonely wind. The wind carries the scent of wild thyme growing in the cracks, the scent of forgotten travelers who laid down their burdens for the final time. They are still here, the people of the road. Their spirits linger in the fog patches at dawn, waiting for a carriage that will never come, waiting for the signal fire that has long since died out. This vast network, this magnificent achievement of stone. And sweat was meant to unify the world. It did unify the world for a season, but then the world moved on, leaving behind this fossilized structure. A testament to ambition, a testament to the simple fact that humanity loves to connect loves, to move loves, to impose order on the wildness. The legacy of the road is silence. The legacy is the shape it gave to the future of Europe. Lines they drew in the soil remain even today in our modern pathways. The roads were strong, stronger than the men who built them, stronger than the governments that commissioned them. They're silent now, but they are not empty. We have followed the journey from sun-drenched Rome to rain-soaked Britannia. We have seen the triumph of engineering, but there is a greater untold story. Lurking just beyond the edge of the stone, we have focused on the traveler, the Roman, but what about the inhabitants of that distant island? People who watched this unstoppable stony serpent arrive, watched it devour their ancient sacred spaces. Time, we will turn our gaze from the conquering road itself to the land that it conquered. We We'll speak of the deep Celtic mystery. We'll speak of the forgotten gods and the terrifying silent resistance of the Druids. How did the Roman road truly change? The shape of Britain, and what secrets did the old gods whisper to the travelers who strayed too far from the comforting hard line of the stone? Remember the fire, my friends, remember the fire we left burning just beyond the last milestone of Rome. Crackling sound, the sweet scent of burning. Amid the slow rise of smoke against the deepest darkness. World was chaos then, but the fire was Ordera, a small circle of amber, a promise of warmth. Spoke of the legions, we spoke of the glory. Spoke of the cursus publicus, imperial postal service, a fastest way to reach the edge of the known earth, but there's a secret to scrolls. Rarely record a forgotten hardship that truly defined the journey. It was not the bandits, it was not the storms, it was the waiting, it was the endless, unrelenting stretch of time of deep psychological toll of moving just 15 miles a day for 90 days. How did the Roman travelers survive the boredom? Vast aching boringness off the road to Britain sleepy. History now washes over the paving stones off the Via Appia and the Via Agrippa, the way to the Channel. Imagine the road stretches, the road whispers, the road demands. Patience miles upon miles, the same gray stone miles upon miles, the same repetitive. Rhythm hoof beat, the wheel creak, the dry hot dust rising. Landscape changes slowly, so slowly a new mountain range appearing on life after a week of walking. The days blurred into weeks. Travelers sought refuge in the mansionist, the government rest. Stop space, roughly every 20 miles, a destination, a promise, a respite. But these were not glorious villas. They were functional and stark smelling of damp straw and cheap oil. The food was predictable, the conversation dull. Wine often watered down. Sour, the monotony of the road followed them indoors. Every stop looked like the last stop. The weary traveler would ask, Al, far to the next post, and the answer was always the same. Another day, another 15 miles, another relentless tick of the sun. Repetition began to break the mind. The traveler counted the steps, counted the shadows, counted the paving stones one by one by one. Sun beating down dry heath. Constant sound of the iron wheel on the rock, clack, clack, clack. Their ears. It and the mind attempts to find meaning in the sound, but there's only sound in the repetition. The road stretches the road, whispers road, demands surrender. Moves slowly north through golf vines, giving way to fields, heat giving way to damp. Air, but the speed never increased. Daily mileage fixed by the endurance of the horse and the need to maintain the schedule. Think of the courier carrying critical military orders. He knows the urgency, feels the weight of the empire he is bound. By the 15-mile rule, he cannot rush the road. The road dictates the pace. The road hums its hypnotic drone. He sleeps soundly out of exhaustion. Peace. He wakes up knowing the next day will be identical to the last identical stones. Identical dust, identical. Need to move. Just beyond Lugdunum, the landscape grew colder, forests thicker, but the road remained the same engineered ribbon of stone pulled taut across the world. Mind wanders, the traveler dreams of Rome, dreams of the sounds. Of the forum, the riotous color, the shouting, then wakes to the gray reality, gray morning mist. Gray stone underfoot, gray patience required. The road stretches, the road whispers, the road demands. Patient seedmen surrender. Let the rhythm of journey now lull you. Slow turning of the Roman wheel. The endless steady pace of empire moving, always moving, but never quickly enough. Never. Escaping the boredom. Beautiful boring road to Britain. The fire whispers its secrets a low, slow, steady. Hyssop, cypress, wood resisting the endless night. The ember glow dances upon the walla, restless shifting canvas of deep orange and black. We sit still, we sit safe. The air is thick with the scent of burning pine and the dampness clinging to heavy woolen. Cloaks damp wool, and the sour smell of last night's wine. We are warm here yet, the road, the memory of the road, it still carries the cold. Biting cold that settles beneath the skin. The biting cold of the Alpine passes even now weeks from. Rome, the journey moves. The journey always moves, but the mind lingers on the moral grace. Hidden weight of this Roman convenience, this straight road, this perfect pavement is not simply earth and stone, is it? No, it is servitude. It is the force laboreth. The auxiliary legionary, conscripted farmer, the man whose name is forgotten now how, laid the foundation course by hand each stone, each mile, each relentless straight line. We ride smoothly, we ride safely. The setter demands his speed, the merchant insists on his schedule, but for every smooth mile enjoyed there is a corresponding human exhaustion, a cost paid in sweat and in broken sleep. Listen closely to the silence beyond the fire. You can almost hear the soft thud of the hoof beats, the ones that traveled. All day the tired breathing of the messenger runner woe left the last mancio at dawn carrying the imperial dispatch. He does not care for the grandeur of the Empyrean leave for the next place to rest. The necessity of speed, the tyranny of the hour it forces. The pace it makes men into machines of conveyance, moving documents, moving authority. The sheer weight of Roman administration dens this constant grinding motion. He sleeps now. I imagine the messenger sleeps scrolled on straw, perhaps in the next room smelling of old leather and road dust, his sleep, heavy sleep, sleep of the utterly exhausted, a sleep earned not by comfort, but by sheer unforgiving mileage. And the horses, the beautiful, strong horse, their flanks still steaming from the exertion, they too are of the vast cold machine fed oats for energy, oats for duty. They do not dream of freedom, they dream perhaps of the soft marsh grass they left behind. Cost of convenience is always borne by those who facilitate the convenience. We are the beneficiaries of this smooth gray lineoff, these straight roads that ignore the landscape if it cut through forests and mountains to save an hour to save a day, but that saved hour, that saved day is simply transferred servitude. It is moved from the powerful to the powerless, a moral equation calculated in blood and miles, miles and miles. The cost of miles, watch the fire breathe, watch. The deep red ember fatten, then brighten. A steady pulse like the slow heavy breathing of the empire itself. The fire promises warmth, but the warmth is temporary, a fragile shield against the vast cold indifference of the road. Tomorrow we rise early. The wooden cartwheels groan. Whip cracks low and sharp. The road demands movement. The road demands movement, always then. The human cost continues. To a cruise smell, the wet wool, feel the soft comfort of the smoke drift deeper into this realization. This is the true sound of ancient travel. The silence of exhausted mente, quiet grinding of duty sleep, now sleep deeply. The fire protects us for this brief cold night, but the road waits always for the dawn, the long, long road to Britain. The stones are quiet now. Great journey is done for us tonight. The legionary is gone. The senator is gone. The cart track fades into the green. The mud hardens the rut. Spanish, a slow, slow fading. A long, slow goodbye. The memory of the journey remains, but the journey itself is a whisper of dust and iron, a whisper of tired feet on cold earth. We sought the majesty of the Roman roads. We found the endless rhythm of the walk, the quiet drone of the wheels turning, the predictable passing of the roadside mile markers. Road was not a miracle, it was patience made manifest, patience and purpose. They walked the miles upon miles. They knew the scent of Gaulish forest. They knew the taste of the river water near Lugdunum. They knew the relentless flatlands of northern Britannia. They did not fly over the map. They became of the map mile by mile. They paid the toll of time and sweat. They left behind more than markers. They left behind ghosts of routine, ghosts of boredom, ghosts of the endless 3 miles to the next stop. This is the true legacy of the road, not the emperor's grand decree, but the blistered heel of the foot soldier, the heavy breath of the burdened mule, the enduring weight of the world carried forward. Think of the faces unseen, the simple lives moving slowly. Merchant counting profits under the stars, the farmer returning home after selling grain, the messenger fearing. The news he carried, the sheer volume of human experience compressed into the hard surface. The stone remains, but the humanity scattered it, dissolved into the fog of history. In the roads, they saw things. We can only dream of now trade secrets wrapped in oiled cloth whispers. Of conspiracy against the throne, a lover's desperate letter hidden in a saddlebaga. Sacred artifacts smuggled north to escape the chaos. What did the stones truly witness beyond the daily marching rhythm, beyond the cold rations and the tired readings? See the structure, the geometry, the efficiency, but the road was a living, pulsing artery carrying, fear carrying, hope carrying, silence that swallowed their stories. Holy silence that grows deeper with every passing century, deeper and heavier. The greatest secrets of the empire were not written in stone. They were written in dust, and the wind erased them. We look at the ditches, the embankments, the straightness. Forget the travelers who laid down their heads along the route, who dreamed of home or Britain or wealth. The roads were an obsession, a necessary burden, an endless testament to the need to connect, the need to control the slow conquest of the world. Through gravel and rock we have traveled far tonight, from Rome to the northern edge of their dominion. Rest our minds upon the remnants of their efforts. Sleep now with the slow fading memory. Road has shown us its breadth, its reach, its monotony. But wait, there's one final destination. The road always leads to a place where all travelers eventually stop. A hidden city of the dead they built on the roadside. A resting place of marble and mystery. A secret that lies just beyond the last mile marker. Next time we will unearth the quiet life and final sleep of the forgotten people who line the roads. The necropolis of Rome, Britain awaits us. We begin in the amber glow, the slow pulse of the memory fire, the scent of pine smoke clinging to the woolen cloak, the wood crackling deep in the hearth pita. Sound that is safety itself. That is the end of the long day. Remember the heat. We remember the comfort. We remember the simple quiet before the dawn breaks the spell. The road is quiet now, but the memory is noise, the memory of the dust and the pounding hooves. We have traveled so far from Rome deep into Gaul. We push north toward the chilling gray water that separates the empire from Britannia. We are chasing the horizon line. We are tracing the perfection of the Roman engineering. But what if I told you a secret, a truth? The history books forget to whisper that the greatest cost of the Roman road was not the labors, not the stone quarried, or the lives spent laying the flawless pavement. The greatest cost was the boredom. Endless, unrelenting, sameness day after day, the straight line mile after mile, the same paving stone, the same low chatter of the teamsters, the same rattle of the iron wheel on the unforgiving stone. The wheels never stop turning. The journey is hypnotic, but it is not peaceful. It is a ceaseless vibration, a deep hum that settles in the chest, the constant thrumming of life on the move. We are not sailing the gentle Mediterranean. We are on the land, the hard-packed earth, the engineered surface. The dust rises ochre and fine and coats everything. The horses, the leather, the bread you eat. You taste the road with every breath. The dust keeps rising. The dust keeps settling. Think of the noise, the forgotten noise. The sound of 400,000 miles of road travel happening all at once across the empire. The creak of the wagon axles never oiled enough. Shouts in Latin and Celt and dozens of dialects. The clatter of the legions marching. Ahead or behind the continuous metallic ringing is a constant ringing noise that fills the mind. You learn to ignore the ringing. You learn to live inside the ringing. The journey is a daily rhythm of discomfort. We stop at the mansionese, the official inns built by the state. They are the same every 20 miles. Predictable shelter, simple beds, cheap wine, sour bread, smell of old sweat and stale cooking fires always waiting. The routine is the same. Feed the horses, check the cart, argue with the innkeeper. Sleep, badly start before the first light. The road demands this discipline. The road demands this sameness. This relentless forward motion toward the damp gray island at the edge of the world. We sacrifice sleep for speed. We sacrifice comfort, efficiency. Travel faster than anyone has ever traveled before, but we pay the price in monotony. The long silent hours spent watching the same trees, the same fields roll past. The landscape changes slowly, almost imperceptibly, as we move toward the channel. Olive groves are long gone. The climate is cooler, the air is sharper, the pines are darker, but the road itself does not change. The perfect stone pavement insists on its perfection. It dictates the pace. It dictates the mood. It gives us speed, but it steals. Variety, we crave the slow meander, we crave the unexpected stop, but the Empire insists on the straightest line, the most direct route. It is the journey itself that teaches us the true meaning of time. That time is not a rush time, it's a steady, relentless. March like the hooves on the ancient road. We remember the heat of the fire. We remember the comfort. We drift back into the hypnotic hum of the perfect. Roman road, the straight line keeps pulling us north. The straight line keeps pulling us onward toward. The cold sear us now, the journey is long, the road keeps turning, the dust keeps rising, but we remember the fire, we remember the glow. Crackling wood whispers secrets to the dark, a breath of hot smoke rises slow, slow, slow into the high black ceiling. Of the night descent is old pine and damp earth, it clings to the wet wool of the cloak, it is the smell of survival. Amber glow of the small fire, it fights the terrible cold that surrounds us. The road sleeps. Now, the mighty stone pavement sleeps, but the travelers do not truly sleep. Their minds travel still 1,000 miles of repetition, a gray landscape of duty. They carried the weight of Rome on their backs. They carried the letters, the orders, the gold, but mostly they carried the silence of the journey, the dreadful, boring silence, the silence punctuated only by the shift of a logor. The breath of the oxen tethered nearby, the oxen smell of straw, and thick, damp, muscly smell of honest suffering. Slow sacrifice for the speed of empire think. Of the moral grayness of this road, this straight line of Roman efficiency for the tribune riding in the covered carriage of the journey is inconveniency, tedious necessity before the grand arrival. He reads his scrolls, perhaps he dreams of the legions waiting in Britain. He is warm, he is fed, he is safe, but look at the men who made his journey possible. The men who walk beside the wheels. The men whose faces are perpetually dusted gray. The men whose shoulders bear the burden, bear the engine. Of the Empire's boring mile, they're the hidden cost of the straight line. Their sleep is not restorative. Their sleep is collapse. The cold bites deep into their bones. It is a pervasive cold that no fire can fully banish. It smells of old sweat and stale wine spilled hours ago. It smells of fear that the axle might break before dawn. It is a deep, deep animal fatigue, and no one records their suffering. The history books chart the distance. They chart the forts. They chart the milestones, but they do not chart the ache and the unnamed heel. They do not chart the gnawing hunger of the servant boy. He is sleeping now curled near the embers. His dreams are probably of standing still if a moment where movement ceases. The Roman world demanded movement. Constant movement, and the movement was funded by this silent suffering, by the sacrifice of the many for the speed of the few. The sound now is just the soft hiss of the sap escaping the wood. The hiss is the sound of time passing slowly passing. The miles blend together into a single gray smear. One town looks like the last town. One dusty inn courtyard mirrors the next dusty inn courtyard. The only difference is the depth of the cold. The air tastes of damp stone and wood smoke and the distant river. River flows without pause, just like the road flows. And necessary and always waiting for the dawn, you feel the cold seeping up from the earth. The earth remembers every footstep, every tire rut. The earth remembers the thousands of men who fell beside the track, too tired, too sick, too worn down to continue. They were replaced instantly. Roman road did not tolerate gaps. It demanded continuity. It demanded relentless boredom. It demanded the steady rhythm of marching. Feet marching feet, even in the silence of this winter night. The fire sighs one last team, a glowing log splits, revealing the deeper scarlet heart. It is the heart of the journey, beautiful in its danger, flickering and temporary against the endless cold. We wait for the day that brings the next boring mile, the next exhausting step toward Britain. Next day of gray dust and duty, the repetition, sleep. Now, road waits. The legion is gone, now dust settles. On the worn milestone edu centuries of marching feet know, only the wind remembers their cadenceth, deep, slow breath of the empire itself. Closely at the stones, they are not just stones, they are legacies carved in granite legacies of sweat and sudden Violence, elegies of boredom, and endless walking. The road remains a long dark line across the sleeping continent, a testament to human will, a testament to the fact that power always leaves. A shadow, a cold shadow, a heavy shadow. The ghost path where the pavement is gone entirely, where the rough track dissolves into pastoral land, but the slight rise in the field. Paint unnatural straightness dulls us. This is the way, slow, persistent way. The mystery is not in the concept, but in the continuity. How did the road keep breathing long? After the emperors stopped caring, how did the local people hold on to the chapitre? Shape of Roman order, shape of Roman discipline. We listen for the silences, soft whispers beneath the great pronouncements. Mystery of the mundanity, mystery of the moment right before sleep. Takes you and thoughts begin to dissolve. We track the centurion Lucius for so many miles throughout the crisp air of Gaul, throughout the deep forest near the Rhine, but his journal suddenly stops right at the edge of the Silver Sea. His final words were about the rain. Monotonous, relentless. Roman rain and silence. Did he sail on? Did he settle? Did he simply become another ghost of the road? Another number swallowed by the long, slow journey. History offers us the map of the route. It rarely offers us the soul map, the true interior. Landscape remains forever. Hidden these roads were conduits of longing and forgetting they carried. Soldiers hungry for home and governors desperate for promotion. They carry the weight of the known world, unbearable, beautiful weight. The physical legacy is undeniable. Foundation still solid. River bridge abutment still standing firm against the current, but the true mystery resides in the minds that built them. Minds that walked them. How did they reconcile the vastness of the goal with the excruciating slowness of the travel on foot after the other mile, after the other walking toward? The cold gray edges of the empire fatted, power centers shifted, but the imprint stays. Heavy, persistent imprint stamped deep into the European soil, a reminder that every journey, no matter how tedious, leaves a scar or leaves a blessing. Legacy is the road itself, enduring structural ways, leading us back to where we started in, always tempting us forward. We have traveled far together from the dusty heat of the Forum to the damp chill of Britannic settlements who have seen the movement. The slow grinding movement of a world connected by stone and ambition, but we have overlooked something crucial, something small and intensely valuable, something that mattered more than legions or emperors, true currency of the journey, metal that paid the way. Next time we dig deeper beneath the road surface itself, well, look not at the marching men, but at the denarii they exchanged. Coins they carried, small bronze whispers of trade and hunger. Tell me, master story, what secrets does lost Roman coin hold when it is pulled up from the mudden 1700 years latter? What sound does it make when it hits the table? A sound like sleeper, a sound like pure cold gold. But fire remembers, the smell of burning pine still clings to the cloak even now as the sun rises cold and gray over Gaul. We stopped last night near the river Rhone. The deep sleep was a gift. Fire was amber and amber glow against the deepest dark. The wood was crackling, it was crackling slow and low. The sound was history. The sound was peace, but here's the secret of the Roman road, a secret they engineered deeper than the stone itself. We talk of legions, we talk of speed, we talk of empire, but what if the road was not built for speed at all? What if the greatest invention of the Roman world was designed for management of the mind? We left Rome, weak saga seeking, the cold, wet, distant shore of Britannia. Miles stretch, the miles repeat, the miles stretch. Listen closely, listen. Now, the journey is boredom. The journey is ritual boredom, is power to the empire boredom, is control. Think of the stones beneath the cartwheel. They're perfectly cut. They are uniform, they are relentless, mile after mile after mile, the same measured width, the same measured drainage. There is no surprise, there's no deviation. This is the genius of the Via Romana. The mind seeks novelty, the mind craves change, but the straight, unchanging road denies it, imposes a profound and hypnotic rhythm, dulls the revolutionary thought, it smooths the jagged edge of complaint. You cannot think of rebellion when your entire world is dictated by the slow grind off the iron tire on the gray stone. Slowly, slowly we move, slowly we move. The sound of the ox breathing heavier, great, soft sigh in the morning. Dampness, the creak of the cart axleways, the creak of lullaby of bureaucracy. This is 7 of our long, slow journey. We have crossed the backbone of the Italian peninsula. We have traversed the rugged mountains now. We are in Gaul. The air is different. The trees are different, but the road is exactly the same. The road is eternal sameness. The road reminds you who you are, a small traveler on a vast network, a tiny dot in the great calculation. The empire never sleeps. The empire simply calculates the distance it calculates. The time it calculates the cost. If you had to invent a tool to make people accept the vastness of your power, you would invent the Roman road, because it takes away the need for thought. It demands only endurance. It demands only repetition. The sun is higher. No, but the heat is thin. We stop soon for water and the silence will be jarring. The silence will feel sharp after the constant rumble. Listen. To the rumble, the constant low vibration through the wood frame, the wheel turns, the stone shifts. The mile is eat an own silent, monotonous bite at a time. No bandit can surprise you on this road. No thought can surprise you either. The road is safe, the road is slow, the road is dull. And that dullness, that constant, unending salmonness is why Rome endured it, bored the world into submission. We travel today toward Lugdunum, the great junction point. But for us is just another stop, another fire, another memory of the crackling pine. Wood was keep moving, slowly moving, always moving toward the cold, distant shore Britannia. Awaits the mile, repeats, the silence fades, the journey begins. Sleep. Now, if the constant movement will let you sleep, sleep. Now, the empire marches on the straight, unchanging stone. Sleep. Now the fire breathes. Slow. Now it remembers the road outside. Settle deeper into the warmth. The timber size low. We watch the embers glowing. They shift and they fall. Dust of ancient travel rests upon us still. The road is cold outside the ring of heat always. The road is waiting. It is easy to admire the great Roman efficiency, the straight line, the mile markers, the swift messengers. But tonight we must look closer into the moral gray of the pavement itself. Who paid the price for this speed? Who paid for the ease of the wealthy traveler? The roads were built on backs on shoulders aching under the weight of basalt blocks. They were built on the relentless rhythm of suffering, a constant low hum beneath the triumph of engineering. We speak of the sounds of the road, the clatter of hoofs, the turning wheel, but what about the silent sounds, the sigh of a laborer collapsing too tired to dream? The whisper of rebellion quickly suppressed, the stone cutter's chisel striking endlessly. The human cost was measured in sweat, in the permanent dull ache and the small of the back. A road demanded this tribute, and the road always took it. We must consider the smells, not the romanticized scent of olive oil and victory, but the reality of sustained exertion. The smell of damp wool that never truly dried, a pervasive odor of stale human sweat mingling with sour wine, the metallic tang of poorly tanned leather rubbed raw against the skin, the constant presence of mud and animal offal. It was a stench of necessity, a working odor, the odor of empire moving slowly but relentlessly across the globe. The cold presses in around the fire's edge, presses, and it waits for the warmth to fail, just like the darkness waited for the oil lamp to dim every night on the road to Britain. Every single night was a desperate negotiation with the dampness that seeped into the clothes, the dampness that settled deep into the bones, the bottom deep penetrating cold. Endless cold of the northern provinces, a cold that Rome itself rarely understood. Rome was warmth and light. Britain was fog and stone, and the long journey between was simply waiting for the next dawn, waiting and shivering, waiting and enduring the gray light. Imagine the messenger writing for weeks. His duty relentless, his skin rough from the wind. He carried the fate of legions in a sealed scroll, but his own fate was merely to ride, to ignore the pain in his saddle, so legs to eat the hardtack and drink the thin watery beer. His body was a machine dedicated to the movement of information, and the road became his entire world of relentless repetitive motion. The sound of his horse breathing heavily, the rhythmic pounding of hoofs on engineered stone pound after mile after mile, a hypnotic, almost unbearable monotony. This monotony was the true gray area. It was the soul-crushing boredom of endless landscape repeating. The same trees, the same roadside ditches, the same tired faces at the next mansio. Traveler was stripped of identity, reduced to a function of the road itself, a commodity moving from point A to point B, their comfort, their well-being, their very humanity, secondary. To the need for imperial cohesion, the roads were a triumph, but they were a triumph built on the deliberate erasure of individual joy. The long road was a heavy burden and unforgiving weight carried by everyone who traveled it, an iron hand wrapped in the velvet glove of civilization. We feel it still tonight. The cold weight outside our fire circle. The silent promise of a waiting road. The long, long journey ends. The shadows stretch now across the fields of time. The legions are gone. The heavy tramp of the caligay fades into the damp. British Muta silence settles. Now a profound, long silence where only the wind remembers. The wind remembers the shouts, the orders, the burdens carried north, the burdens carried south. The ambition settles. The fire dies low, but the stones remain, though the heavy stones, the cold stones, they cannot move. They wait. They wait for a history to find them. They wait beneath the soil. They wait beneath the forest floor. This is the legacy of the road, not the traveler's face. Not his small worries, but the endurance of the aggregate. The simple crushing weight of Rome's decision to pave the world. To pave the world, we follow the ancient. Roots of stone, we trace the deliberate straightness, but the traveler himself, the ordinary traveler, the nameless clerk, where did his small story go? His small, insignificant journey? Did he dream of Rome or only of the next bowl of warm stew? He leaves no letters, no scrolls, no diary, only the ghost of his passing, a whisper of dust on the ancient way. Mystery remains a deep, quiet mystery. Vast, unwritten history of the road life. Think of the Mansio. Walls thick stone, built to repel the cold, the wet, the night. The scent of stale wine and drying wool. The sound of snoring men, packed tight. The flickering lamp wick, throwing light, throwing shadows on the cheap fresco. A thousand nights of resta. Thousand nights of waiting for the dawn, the clearing skies, waiting for the cart to be repaired. Waiting for the official stamp, this domestic drama, this simple life. It leaves no record. The records are official. They speak of taxes and tariffs, they speak of mileage and marching orders, but the heart of the journey, this slow boredom. Cold ache in the knees, the damp smell of the ends. That is what is lost. That is what vanished, vaporized by time, leaving only the structure. The hard lines on the earth. The hard lines remain. The hard lines remain. The green moss grows slow, now moss covers the careful engineering. The careful work of the surveyors. The roots burrow deep beneath the pavement. The earth forgets nothing, but the earth is patient, so patient. It welcomes the decay. It pulls the gravel back to dust. 1,000 years of slow letting go, long letting go, final sleep. We stand at the end of the paved line, looking out at the wild moor, the frontier where Rome decided enough paving, enough building, enough effort, and the road dissolves into tracks and trails, into the memory of movement. Mystery of the great stone arteries is not how they were built, but why they lasted, a testament to will. Simple human will, a promise carved in rock, but there is one place, one moment, where the road could not simply rely on stone. Where the stone had to leap to fly, a deep cut, a sheer drop, a rushing dark water below the structure that defied gravity itself. The temporary wooden hope, what happens when the bridge burns, when the only path vanishes, when the travelers truly stranded join, is next time when we look beneath the arches at the terrifying history of the forgotten Roman bridge builders and crackling wood, the soft surrender of ancient oak. That was the sound of the Roman night, the amber glow, the breathing heart of the Mansio in a small weak light against the vast dark empire smell. The scent of burning pine, the memory of smoke breathe. It in deeply feel the heat on your face, the chill on your back, the memory of the long journey still lingering in the muscles. We remember the legions, the glory, the sheer concrete where we celebrate the speed, the mastery of the distance. But what did Rome truly sacrifice for all that speed? What was the forgotten secret of the Roman road? It was the profound, unbearable boredom that is our lullaby tonight. The history of the sleep journey, think of the road. Leaving Rome, heading north, is straight. It is efficiency embodied. It is the perfect line drawn across the imperfect world. But the line is relentless. The line does not curve for beauty. The line does not slow for wonder. It demands obedience, and it demands your attention, your Eyes scan the horizon looking for a bend, for a hill, for a tree that looks different, but the trees are the same, the fields are the same. The milestones mark the passing of miles and hours, mil passes, as the companion. The fine white dust of pulverized limestone and history coats the baggage, it coats the clothes, it settles on the tongue, it clings to the leather harness and muffles the hoof beats. The sound is a dull, rhythmic thud, the endless rhythm of the carriage wheel is a sound designed for sleep aid vibration that hums through your bones, rocking you into a historical trance. This is the journey to Britannia, the ultimate boring journey weeks. Upon weeks of sameness moving steadily toward. The cold and the damp you crave the fire, the crackling wood you. Crave the brief stop at the mutatio station to stretch to water the mules to trade. Exhausted horses and then back to the road, back to the thud, back to the dust, back to the straight line. The driver says nothing of interest to guard, stares ahead, his mind empty of everything but the miles remaining. Your mind begins to drift, you start counting the cobblestones, you count the birds that fly past the same field marker. Make a game of predicting when the sun will hit the rim of the road, game of small predictable things, because the road offers nothing unpredictable. Is the guarantee of sameness Rome built these roads to conquer the landscape, but in conquering the landscape, they conquered the mind of the traveler. They made it numb, they made it quiet, they made it ready for sleep. Imagine the hours passing, the sun arcing high, then falling low. The changing light does not change the view. Reins the road. We are traveling through Gaul, long stretches of farmland, scent of earth, the scent of sweat, the scent of old wood and worn leather. The Roman traveler did not see the Alps as majestic peaks. He saw them as another engineering problem, solved another wall that failed to stop the straight line. He did not look at the river as a flowing source of life. He saw it as the necessary location for the next stone bridge, the bridge that continued the straight path. The goal is so far away, Britannia. Britannia is a word whispered in the dust, a distant promise of duty. Are traveling toward the sea, not toward the chilling crossing, but first we must enjoy the road. Road demands patience. We surrender to the rhythm, the wheels spinning, dust rising, the sleep calling, we the drone of the history. The repetitive comfort of the mundane ancient travel. Sound of the world being steadily conquered. Let the hypnotic movement take hold. Let your eyes grow heavy, let the straight. A Roman road guide you into a deep historical slumber. We listen to the dust. We listen to the miles. We listen to the promise of fire at the end of the day, the crackling wood, the amber glow. The journey continues slowly, deeply toward the forgotten end of the empire, toward the cold, distant dawn of Britannia. The fire whispers now a soft, low story of cedar and pinite. Is not the fierce roar of the beginning, it is the steady breath of a thing that accepts its dutito. Keep the cold out, Cidedo. Dark outside, we sit here in the heart of the amber glow. Sit here and watch the shadows stretch and retreat from the light. This journey to Britain is boring. Yes, it is endlessly monotonous, mile upon mile of straight stone, but the human cost is never boring. The human reality of the road is never boring. Look at the men sleeping around the edge of the heat their faces. Drawn tight, not from fear, but from the unrelenting pull of exhaustion. Sheer physical weight of moving. Moving day after day after day. What is the smell? Aurelian in close is the scent of smoke. Sharp and clean, but beneath the safety of the fire theater is the deeper older. Smell of damp wolf. Smell of sweat that has turned cold. Deep mineral scent of the road dust that never truly washes out. Stays in the hair, it stays beneath the nails, it is the permanent perfume of the traveler who relies upon the empire. The Roman road grants this easy, smooth passage to the edges of the world, but who paid for that smoothness? That is the shadow that lives outside the firelight. Moral grayness of the perfect straight line, each stone was handled, each stone was lifted by hands that were not free. The straightness of the road is magnificent, it is a monument to Roman will. But the will was enforced by cruelty. The will was fueled by the bodies of the defeated will. Were turned into the engines of expansion. We complain of the boredom of the ride, but those who built the ride knew only aching strain. The boredom is our luxury. The strain was their life, their death, their legacy, think. of the men who drove the carts, axles groaning under the weight of supply. Rhythmic, terrible sound of the iron tires on the pavimenta. Sound is the true soundtrack of the journey. Sound of relentless friction. Sound of low suffering. And the cold of in here by the fire, the cold waits it, is a persistent enemy. Seeks the gaps in the fire's defense as it creeps under the blankets into. The damp boots, the cold is not just the temperature, it is the isolation of the journey, feeling that Rome is impossibly far away, not just a concept, just a warm memory of baths and fountains. Here on the road, there is only wood and stone and wood. And the constant bitter chill, the sound of the fire low and soft is a lullaby of avoidance. It lets us avoid the truth of the cost it. Lets us forget the laborers, the legionaries, the slaves, woe died, so this path might be open and easy and straight. And boring, we are travelers, we seek comfort, we seek the destination, Britain, the end of the line. But the road itself is a silent graveyard, a long, low tomb of human effort. And that effort, that silent suffering, is the true foundation of the journeys. Ease it is the fuel for our fire tonight. It burns low, it burns slow, it keeps the shadows at bay. The smell of the fire is the smell of survival. Silence of the sleeping men is the truth of fatigue. We are all complicit in the straightness of the road. Are all traveling upon the ghosts of those who laid the stone. The fire whispers on low and deep and low sleep. Comes now heavy and deserved, but listen to the crack light is telling the story of the cost. Cost, the straight road demands. A terrible price, the stone settles, the final mile is complete. The journey from Rome to Britannia is now in the dust we. Close this ancient, not with triumph or trumpet fanfare, but with the quiet, deep quiet off, time off, sleeping, history, feel the cold. Weight beneath your fingers, tessellated surface, hardened by 2,000 seasons, 2,000 years of rain and sun, 2,000 years of forgotten footsteps. This is the legacy, not just the length of the road, not just the straightness of the line, but the endless weight of the memory held in the stone, memory held in the grey dust, memory we can never fully access. We only know the major stations garrisoned the great cities. But what of the small man, this simple man traveling alone, walking for 3 days without seeing a soul? What was his fear? What was his true destination? The road holds secrets sealed deep beneath the gravel secrets that the soil refuses to release. Imagine the night's pitch black, darkness and of damp wool and spilled wind, crackle of a tiny traveler's fire in amber. Glow against the endless dark, just a brief amber glow. The thousands of simple stories, lost letters that never reached home's small tragedies of a broken ex-slave, whispered hopes of a new life in a damp province. We can never know their faces. We can never know their true sorrows. The great mystery is not how they built it. The great mystery is what the road erased, the simple truth swallowed by the dust settles, the memory sleeps, the road remains a ghost, Ghost stretching from the Sutha, ghost stretching to the cold northern, see it, waits, now it waits beneath the modern asphalt, it waits. Beneath the field where the plow turns, the stone is still there, still sleeping. Straight path, endless path of empire, did not just connect places, it connected silences. And as we leave the comfort of the main routinas we turn away from, the predictable milestones we are drawn to the darker corners of the journey. Parts of the journey, Rome tried to forget the men who walked these roads. Legionaries, the merchants, the governors, they needed horses, they needed carts, they needed immense resources, but they also needed something else, something. Cheap something, expendable something, forgotten. They needed bodies to build the foundations. They needed sweat and silence. They needed the enslaved. They needed the nameless laborer. True cost of the Roman highway was not gold or iron, it was the broken lives buried beneath the surface. We talk of the efficiency of the road, but we rarely as quote paid the ultimate price for that. Efficiency, the stone slab you stand on, the very foundation of the empires, might hold the silent, terrible truth. Next time we dig deeper, ask who laid the first stone and why the ancient builders always mixed human bone with the mortar. What darkness lies hidden in the bedrock of the great Roman roads, remember. The fire, the quietest memory is the red fire, the logs groaning softly, a deep amber glow pushing back the shadows. That scent of burning pine, the pitch and the sap, it was a comfort, it was a signal. It was the only sound in the vast darkness, the flame rising. And Falling, rising, and falling. We saw that fire and they saw that fire. Travelers saw that fire. We imagine Roman roads ringing with drum legionaries. Rushing swords drawn. We imagine chariots thundering past milestones. But what if the greatest enemy? On the Via Appia, the Via Militaris was not the barbarian, was not the brigand, was the profound, unrelenting sameness. Crushing, inevitable monotony. How did they endure the relentless repetition of miles without the silent madness taking hold that is the forgotten secret of the ancient road, the secret of the long sleep we left the city far behind us, the marble halls, the clamor of the forum now? Only the road remains, the straight road, the hard road is always the road, always the stone beneath. The wheels, always the dust lifting the fine reddish. Dust a permanent cloud hovering just behind the cart, the rhythm takes hold. Hoofbeat on the pavement, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, the axle creaking a high soft sanga, lullaby of wood and friction. The sun rising in the east, a familiar burden setting in the west, a temporary release. We are deep in the provinces now. Gaul is behind us. The landscape is flatter, wider, more open. The air is cooler, crisper, but the road does not change. The engineering is flawless too. Flawless, perhaps it guarantees speed, it guarantees travel, but it also guarantees boredom, profound intellectual boredom. The brain craves deviation, the eye seeks. A curve, the Roman road denies the curve, it insists on the direct line. Perfect straight line that never ends, never resolves. The scent of dry hay and horse sweat of stale oil clinging to the leather straps it. Is a taste of the journey, a metallic dryness on the tongue, a perpetual thirst days melt into days. The miles become purely conceptual. The distance to Britain is not measured in Roman miles. It is measured in the accumulated weight of hours of silence, hours of watching the dust rise and fall, the same dust, always the same slow rising dust. Imagine the hours spent simply watching the back of the mule, the slow repetitive movement of muscle and harness, the tiny imperfections in the leather straps. You study the strap, you memorize the strap because there's nothing else to memorize. There's no great vista today only. The low scrub and the endless horizon, the world moving past you at the pace of a slow walk, a pace designed not for rush, but for endurance, for the simple, quiet survival of the journey. We pass the markers, the milestones carved meticulously by the engineers. They tell you exactly how far you have come. They tell you exactly how far you have yet to go. They are markers of progress, but they are also monuments to the slow passage of time. Each stone, a little victory, each stone, a reminder that the destination is still so far too far. When we stop at the Mansiath, official rest house of the Cursus Publicus, is not truly rest, it is temporary cessation, a breath held before the next stage. The stable smells of damp straw and urine, the common. The room is loud with low voices of merchants, soldiers, officials, all united by the same bone-deep exhaustion, the same road fatigue. The sleep is heavy but not deep. The dreams are full of straight roads, always straight, always hard, always leading north to the edge of the known world, to the distant, damp, misty shores of Britannia. And tomorrow morning the light will break, and the dust will rise, and the repetition begins the slow march north always. The fire breathes a deep sigh of amber lighten. The dry pine crackles low. It is the oldest sound in the world. Sound of shelter earned. Heavy damp wool of our cloak steam, softly releasing the day's journey. Dust, the sweat, the underlying chill smell of sour earth and distant rain. The cold waits. Just beyond the light is a hungry thing of black. Curtain of forest night hat demands payment for every kilometer traveled at every milestone passed away. Sit upon the rough stones of the Mancio floor, official resting house here, standardized structure. Repeated endlessly from the gates of Romall, the way to the cold edge of Britain, and here in the firelight we must consider true cost of this standardized comfort, this smooth efficiency. These roads are magnificent, yes, a marvel of engineering, very spine of empire, but look closely at the stones, look at the way they settle under the shifting heat. They hold secrets, they hold the ghosts of forced labor. The legions marched them, but they did not lay them all thousands of hands that never held. As spear hands broken by the hammerbacks bowed by the granite weight, they were shackled, they were driven, they were the unseen cost of speed. Human price of travel that is only boring. You are the one doing the relaxing, the smooth boring journey was bought with agony. It is the empire's forgotten secret that the most comfortable routes are paved with the moral gray. We Stare into the fire and the truth melts and shifts like the images in the smoke. We benefit from the perfection. We use the straight, uncompromising lines, reliable surface, but we never see the bodies left behind. Ones who succumb to the fevers, ones crushed beneath. The wagon wheels, ones who simply faded into the roadside, brush never to be named. We smell the burning. Out of the dinero thick stew seasoned heavily against the flatness of life, and we try to silence the whispers. Sound of the cold wind through the gaps in the timber walls. The sentry coughs heavily outside his pace, slow, rhythmic, hypnotic on foot. Then the ethereal sound that marks the passage of the long night, a sound that reassures us we are safe by the fire, we are warm. But the cold still enters not through the walls, but through the realization that every comfort here is built upon the necessary. Sacrifice me else's life short, now someone else's pain extended. Steam rises from the wooden cups of Poscave, thin vinegar water or tired minds, drifting the journey feels. In less not because of the movement, but because of the weight of the endless repetition of the day of the same view of the night by the same. Fire another standardized meal, another layer of dust upon the boots. We seek Britannia, distant, cold promise, but the road itself is the true destination, a ribbon of stone that swallows up time and swallows up conscience. The wood settles with a deep sigh, a low ember glow now painting the faces around. Us sleep is combing a heavy blanket, and we carry the cold stones of the roadwind into our dreams. The fire breathes, it breathes, and waits for the slow hypnotic dawn and the start of another boring day in the Empire's tireless spine. Rest now, we rest while the cold remembers and the stones stay silent. The legionary camps have faded now. Echo of the hobnailed booth is finally slipped away into the moss and the deep earth. The great stone roads remain a silver gray scar across the landscape, a memory of ambition. This is the legacy, the quiet ending of the dream of endless expansion, the dream of perfect straight lines. Journey from Rome to Britannia is complete in the historical record, but the road itself whispers secrets whispered under the rainlock. Closely now at the edges of the ancient pavement, the edges are softened by time, the empire crumbled. The capitals tell silent, the great palaces were looted, but the roads survived. They endured the frost, they endured the ignorance of the dark centuries, they endured the long forgetting. How does an idea persist when the hand that forged it is gone? Engineering itself a mystery, the bedrock foundation rising to yield to the weather, fusing to return to dust, the stone layer upon layer, a testament to obsessive labor. The road was not just a path of conquest, it was a declaration of permanence. They believed it would last forever, and in a way, a silent, haunting way it did. Farmers of the Middle Ages, they walked these same stones. The pilgrims seeking sacred citizenry followed the path of the legions. They did not know the names of the engineers. They did not care for the politics of the Caesars. They only knew this tract. This ancient way was faster, smoother, truer. The memory of the road became the memory of movement itself. Imagine the silence. Now the silence after the carts stopped rumbling. Silence after the last courier galloped a profound quieta. Quiet stretching over 1,000 years, the grass grew tall between the sets. Forests encroached, but the essential shape of the Roman road remained a phantom pathway. We look at the maps today. We see lines of modern asphalt, but beneath the surface, beneath the tarmac, ghost of the ancient road waits for us to remember it, waits for us to feel the weight of the hands that laid those first heavy stones. The roads of Rome are a monument to dust, monument to effort, monument to the enduring human need to connect, to travel, to know what lies beyond. Great journey is finished now. The history of the travel is complete. The story of the stone is told, but there is one final piece, one final shadow in the landscape. Mystery that defines the very core of the imperial road system. We have spoken of the builders. We have spoken of the travelers. We have spoken of the destination. But how did they move those vast, heavy objects? Did they cross the rushing rivers without the bridges of today? How? Did the stones arrive at the edges of the wild northern sea? The greatest engineering challenge was not the path itself, but the means of crossing the void, the silent, forgotten genius of the Roman bridge. Next time we leave the solid earth beneath our feet and look down, look down into the raging currents of the Tiber. We look down into the icy flow of the Danube. We ask the final gripping question. How did the Romans defy gravity? How did they build the ark and hang the road in the sky, or the soft sound it made, the low crackling wood snapping at the edges of the night, the amber glow spreading slowly across the Kent canvas, across the rough wool blankets, thick scent of burning pine resin, and smoke filling the frozen air was the only warmth, the only movement, the only deep, rich color in a life of gray stone. We speak of Roman roads, we talk of speed, and glory of messengers galloping to the edges of the known world. But this is the forgotten secret, the one essential truth that Rome could never pave over the sheer inescapable boredom of travel. Tell me now if you were a centurion or a trader of glass, or a simple messenger carrying a tax roll from the hot, noisy chaos of Rome to the cold, damp silence of Britannia. How long would you walk? How many times would the sun rise and set before the landscape blurred? It begins with expectation. The first few miles out of the city gates, the smell of the Tiber mud still fresh, the cheering crowds forgotten, and then the road takes you. It swallows you whole. The Via, the road is perfect, it is relentless, it is unchanging, stone slab after stone slab. The same width, the same curve stretching out before you, a ribbon of engineered perfection. But oh, the monotony, the crushing rhythmic monotony. Listen closely to the past. Sound you hear is not the trumpet blast of victory, is the dull thud, the endless dull thud. Hooves. On hard compacted gravel, a rhythmic beat like a heart slowing down for sleep. Thud thud. The sound of a simple cart wheel always rolling, always turning on the same axle over the same stone under the same gray sky. You begin to count the milestone, one every 1,000 paces, 1,000 paces, 1,000 more, each one a marker of time wasted. One a small victory over the distance, each one identical a block of pale limestone inscribed with the name of the emperor who is not walking this road, the emperor who sleeps in Rome. The days merge, they fold into each other like old linen. Dust is your constant companion. Red dust in Gaul, white dust in Italy, black dust when you cross the volcanic plains, dust coating the hairs. In your nose, dust settling into the folds of your tunic, dust dulling the shine of your sandals. You try to focus your mind, you try to remember your wife's face, but the rhythm takes over, the hypnotic swing of your arm, the slow, deliberate placement of your left foot, then your right, left, right, left, right. The only break, the blessed break, is the sight of the fire at dusk, the scent of burning pine, the amber glow, the crackling wood, the sound that reminds you that you are still alive, still moving, still heading north to the wet, cold edge of the world, to Britain. Mistake efficiency for joy. We praise the speed of Rome's expansion, but imagine that speed from the perspective of the foot soldier walking 20 miles every day for 6 months, walking. Did the Roman road make travel easier? Or did it simply make the journey more predictable, more certain, and more profoundly boring? It is the great irony. The vast network of roads built for swift movement became the engine of profound physical stasis. You are moving, but nothing around you ever changes. The same fields, the same distant trees, the same dust, the same relentless stone, endless stone calling you forward, calling you slowly to sleep. We sit here still by the fire. The wood crackles. A slow story, a story of warmth, a story of false relief. The amber glow washes over the tired faces, pinching back the wet blackness of the night. But the cold is patient. The cold is not fooled by the flickering light. It wraps itself around the edges of the camp. It sinks deep into the heavy wool of our cloaks. Cold waits, it waits for the dawn to fail us, it waits for the movement to begin. The scent of burning pine, sharp against the damp earth smell, against the lingering stale odor of the road. The road stretches out unseen now, but we feel its presence, a low hum of inevitable cold stone beneath the soft mud of the autumn rains. The Road is why we are here. The road is why we suffer this quiet waiting. We talk often of Roman efficiency. The speed of the legions, the speed of the scrolls, but that efficiency had a moral price, a human cost measured not in gold, but in the endless aching hours of the forgotten. This straight line of stone, this perfect boring road, it feels ancient and editable, as if the mountains themselves bowed down. The bowing was forced. The power was the whip. The power was the sheer endless effort of others. The road whispers secrets of men who dug the heavy ditches, men whose hands cracked open for this straightness slaves. Moving mountains of clay, the sound of the pickaxe dull and relentless. The sound of forced repetition. The builders could not afford boredom. They knew only strain and suffering. This tedium we feel now, this quiet exhaustion, it was bought by their constant unending labor. Someone suffered for this straight line. Someone bled for this pavement. The moral grays are thick here in the darkness. Look at the fire, how it flickers. It hides the truth of the journey. The truth is the smell that never leaves us, the sharp stench of unwashed bodies moving together for weeks on end. The stale leather of the packs, the dust of Italy on our cloak, the dust of Gaul mixed in me. Dust changes, but the weariness does not. The animal breath, thick and hot then freezing in the sudden draft, the mules shifting their weight, their patience exhausted, their efforts silent. They carry the ambition of Rome, they carry the instruments of its dull control, the simple monotonous pounding of hooves day after day after day, the rhythm of the boring journey is built on suffering. It is built on exhaustion. It is built on the sheer human will to survive. The repetition, listen closely now to the quiet, only the crackle of the wood. The silence is deceptive. The road is always working, it is always demanding. Payment, a dull ache in the knees, dull ache in the back, a dull ache in the soul. We complain of the straightness, the lack of variation, the mind-numbing lack of incident. But that very boredom is Rome's triumph. The control is so complete, the system so effective that the only thing left to fight is the passage of time. Patience is the only shield we have now. And patience is a muscle that fatigues quickly. We rest here tonight. The hypnotic flicker holds our tired gaze. The weight of distance measured. In blistered feet, the weight of endless marching. Rome's power is silent and unseen right now. Is this cold stone beneath the mud? It is the certainty that tomorrow the road will still be waiting straight and demanding we rest, but the road is not it. It is always there, a gray ribbon of tired ambition, a journey of endless days, a journey of quiet, costly boredom. Fire now sighs a deep sigh of final exhalation of heat. Journey is over, friend. We have reached the edge of the world, the edge of the map. The amber glow is sinking low. The red embers are fading festinto. The soft white ash. We walk the ancient road, the hard stone pavement. We walked the Via Strata from the heat of Rome to the chill of Britannia. We covered the miles, the difficult miles now. What remains of that terrible effort only? The echo remains only. The great mystery of the road persists. The road was built for permanence, for forever. It was meant to defy time itself. But the road now is only a scar, a memory, a long straight line across the dreaming earth. Think of the men who built it. Sweat, the strain, the relentless sun. Did they know their names would vanish? Did they know only the work would speak for them? Did they know that we centuries latter will stay here under the same slow stars tracing the line of their lost labor? The scent of burning pine is almost gone. Now just a lingering ghost in the cool night air. Ghost of a journey, a ghost of an empire. The road offers one final question, one deep secret: why travel at all when the sleep awakes? Why endure the rutted track, the dusty delay? Fear of the dark wood and the forgotten bandit. If the destination is merely another beginning, then the journey itself is merely A path to the inevitable silence. We search for the history, for the names, for the dates, but history always protects its deepest secrets. The deepest secret is not how the road was made. The deepest secret is who used it last, who is the final messenger riding west, who is the last traveler seeking the comfort of home, the last man to stop at the mancio at the roadside. And did he see the future in the swirling smoke of his own fire? Did he know the road would fade into legend? His name is gone, his face forgotten, but his journey remains a mystery, a perfect circle. He walked this path, he slept beneath these same slow stars. He is the true legacy of the Roman road, the enduring mystery of the common traveler, the quiet person who simply needed to get somewhere. Have arrived, friend, the sound of the crackling. Wood is ceasing, ceasing only. The softest hiss of cooling stone remains, the fire is dying. Now a deep crimson fading to black. Velvet, we watched the flame, we listened to the whispers, we traveled the long road. Together, the hard stone road, the heavy legionary road, and now we must allow the journey to settle within us. Allow the history to become of the dark silence too. Not chase the names or the dates anymore, do not fear. The fading light, the great journey is finished for tonight. The light is done, the road is done, but the sleep has just begun. Rest, now deep. Within the ancient stillness, remember the stones, remember the effort, remember the sleep. This is Nazrula for HSDO. Your rest be long and your dreams be slow.